It's November 1st and there are leaves falling outside, and I'm wearing my brand new sweater, and I've got my blanket, and I've got my plaid overall to like cover up, and I have a stack of books I read in October. So before I fully dive into November, I figured I would film my wrap up for October. The first book I read last month was The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas, and I like this book. I gave it a 3-star. I think it is because the beginning was a little weird for me. It starts like right off, and once again, if you watched my vlog for A Touch of Darkness, I don't know if this is like a romance thing or not. I might just be used to like reading fantasy books and having like a very slow start, like a slow introduction into the world and the magic setting and all of the characters, but I feel like with romances it like hits the ground running, and I don't know if I'm so much of a fan of that. So didn't really like that about this book. However, about halfway through the book I was fully immersed. I think I read the book in like 2 days. Loved it. I loved Aaron Blackford. Totally understand the obsession with him, that is for sure. I think the best part about this book was it had every single romance trope there is. The ones that stand out in my head right now are gonna be like the one bed trope, the enemies to lovers trope, the football star famous male lead trope. I think that's a trope. I don't know what specific trope that is, but it definitely is one. It had like meeting the family trope. Like, I loved it. I honestly think that it was like the perfect combination of every romance trope you can think of, and it was done very creatively, and I really appreciate that. Of course, you always see the end coming, I feel like, with romance books. However, I still really enjoyed it, and I really loved it. Thought it was great. So the second book I read this month was for the Sweater Weather Readathon. It was a book that was set in the fall, and that is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This book was adorable. So this book, I actually loved both characters, which is a big deal. But before we get into all of that, I'd say this book is definitely just a 3-star, just like the other one, The Spanish Love Deception. This book is about a professor and a grad student and their relationship. Basically, there's a fake dating trope that devolves into all sorts of shenanigans, as is to be predicted. I think that the sex scene in this book was absolutely amazing, and it was realistic, and I loved that as well. I think the conversations they have, I think all those friendships, the dynamic was so much fun to read. Like, her and her friends, like anytime that they were all in a scene together, I was laughing. I absolutely loved it. So definitely recommend this book. I think I've seen it all over BookTube, so if you haven't heard about it yet or you haven't picked it up yet and you want a fun romance, please do. Please pick it up and tell me what you think about it. I'd appreciate it. The next one I read was A Touch of Darkness, and I did a 24-hour vlog for A Touch of Darkness. It hit the ground running. At the very beginning, I've only read a couple of Hades and Persephone retellings, so it didn't have a lot of similarities with some of the other retellings I have read. However, it definitely branched off into a little bit, I don't know, darker. Hades is dark in this book, but like Hades is supposed to be dark. There was no character development, first off. There was no character development. They stayed the exact same the entire book. You try, like Persephone, you get told that Hades is a great person. Like, you get told that Hades is actually really kind and sweet and everyone loves him, but you never get shown it, if that makes sense. I think there's like one scene where he's playing with puppies, and I guess that's supposed to convince you that he's actually a really good guy. Whatever. It was okay. I think what I found most interesting about this book was, yes, the sex scenes are incredibly hot, and they are incredibly hot, but also I liked the underworld. Like, I loved that world set up, and maybe that's just my fantasy lover coming out of me, but I loved hearing about all of that. I loved Hecate, Hecate. I don't know how to pronounce that goddess's name, but I loved her in this. I loved Persephone's friends in this. So this is a fun ride. I will have to admit that. This was definitely a fun ride. I was in for it. It was great to just sit down and read for 24 hours. Yeah, that would do it for me. There is supposed to be a sequel, but I have no idea what the sequel could be about. They have like a small snippet in the back of it, and it's like Hades dealing with some mafia. So I don't know if like the sequel is more of like a mafia romance. I don't know if I'm gonna pick it up, but if you have read it and you really like it, I guess tell me, and I guess I will pick it up, but I don't know how you can make a sequel out of this one. Anyways, the next book I read was From Blood and Ash, and this was also for the Sweater Weather readathon. This, please just go watch the vlog, because I loved this book. This was definitely like a 5-star book for sure. I actually really don't give out 5-star books too often, but I would reread this 100%. I'm definitely reading the sequel, and I am trying to avoid spoilers for apparently the prequel series to this. There's a prequel series as well. This is about Poppy, and she is something called like the Maiden, which is a religious symbol in the society, and she is kind of sequestered away. And in this world there are like vampires, and there are werewolves, and there is this monarchy set up almost, and she is being trained to become the Maiden. She's being trained to basically take on this like goddess like immortal role, and within that she meets a guard, and it's kind of like a guard romance. So she falls in love with the guard falls in love with her, and like shit hits the fan. And it has the political intrigue in this as well, because there's like different races of vampires in this book. So there's like the vampires that live out in like this blood forest, and they're just bloodthirsty, and they come in and they attack. And the kingdom that Poppy is from believes that the other kingdom is the one who controls these vampires. So they're actually at war with each other. And because she is this religious icon, she's involved a lot in that, and it just kind of like takes off. To be honest with you, it's fast-paced enough to keep you entertained. The romance definitely helps with that, and like the experiences that Poppy is going through definitely help with that, and I would recommend it for sure. Like, I was actually very surprised. I didn't think that it was going to have like vampires and blood and gore, and Poppy, first off, Poppy is a badass. So she like secretly trains with one of her guards, because she's not supposed to be able to like defend herself, do anything, because it's not maiden-like, but she does, and she is an absolute badass, and I cannot wait to see her in the next book, because I think the next book she's going to be presented with a lot more opportunities to show just how badass she is, and I'm excited about it. However, hopefully I explained this well enough. I really just want to sell it to you based on the fact that there is vampires, there is lots of blood and gore, there is fight scenes that I actually want to read, there's a romance that's really hot, the world is very intriguing, there is some politics in this book. And if I can sell you on those, then we're good to go. So it is beautiful and it's amazing. I loved this. This was so good. I blew through it. 600 pages was nothing. Like, it was nothing. The one thing I did notice about this book, I don't know if you guys have, but like the format is really weird. Like, there's this like big space up here, and I feel like the pages are really short. I don't know. It's probably not. But it was just an interesting thing I thought about when I was reading it. Probably didn't explain it very well, however, I still really enjoyed that book. The next book I read was The Mad Ship by Robin Hobb. I love this series, so of course I fell in love with this book. I have about 100 pages left. I don't see my views on it changing. It's amazing. It is about traders and pirates and mad ships, or ships that come to life, sea serpents, dragons, magical lands. You can't not, for me, like, those are all trigger words. Like, you can't, I will not read a book like that and not love it. Same thing with like From Blood and Ash. If you tell me badass female lead, blood, gore, vampires, politics, kingdoms, I'm there. So same thing with this book. I would highly recommend anyone who appreciates a good pirate adventure story to pick this up, because that is why I fell in love with it. I'm excited to read the next book. I will probably devour it just as soon. I have to order it from the book depository though, because I like the UK editions of this book a lot more, and we all know that it takes quite a time to get it. So yes, loved this. Mad Ship, Robin Hobb. I think it was an okay reading month overall. I really enjoyed the Sweater Weather Readathon, even though I totally failed at it. I liked doing A Touch of Darkness in 24 hours. I definitely think it is a book that if you read it in 24 hours, you will love it. It's kind of that vibe. From Blood and Ash was a great surprise, to be honest with you. I did not expect it to be as Halloween-y and October-y as it was, and I appreciated it. And of course, yeah, the Mad Ship, can't go wrong. I think with the Robin Hobb to top it all off. I'm excited to finish those last 100 pages and move into my November TBR. That video will be up in a couple of days, so hopefully you guys are excited to figure out what I'm reading next month, and I will be able to tell you how enjoyable it was. If you have any recommendations for me to read based off of how I felt about these books, put them down below. If you think A Touch of Darkness, the sequel, is worth the read, put them down below. If you've read any of these books and have comments on them as well, please tell me about it. I'm excited to learn about what you guys think. Anyways, hope everyone enjoyed their Halloween and that everyone will enjoy the rest of this fall season.